The Secret of the Silver Key, written by Phyllis J. Perry. Welcome back, warrior friends. We're ready for our next chapter in Secret of the Silver Key. When we left off, Fribble was still looking for more information about the postmaster, Fleet Milton, who used to own his treasure chest. Chapter 5. When Fribble got home from school on Tuesday, he dropped his backpack in his room and then ran downstairs to the kitchen for a snack. His mother had a big glass of milk and some cheese and crackers and slices of apples all ready for him. Scamper, who never missed a chance to nibble, joined him. "Do you want to play catch?" Scamper asked after he finished eating. "No, I think I'll go to the library," Fribble announced, brushing some crackers from his whiskers. "Schoolwork?" asked his mother. "Are you working on a report?" "No," Fribble said. "It's my treasure chest. I keep wondering about the postmaster who owned it and about his trip to Nashville. I want to find out all about him." "It's all right to go," his mother said, "but don't be gone too long. I want you home before 5 o'clock so that you can get your homework done before dinner." "Can I come with you?" Scamper asked. "Sure," Fribble said. "And we'll be home by 5, he promised his mother. As they walked down the street towards the library, Scamper asked, "What kind of book are you looking for this time, Fribble?" Fribble furrowed his brow. "I wish I knew," he said. "I want to find out more about the man who was the postmaster back in 1877. But I don't even know where to start looking." "Maybe there's a book about a mailman," Scamper suggested. "I guess that's as good a place as any to start," Fribble agreed as they climbed the steps to the library. Fribble went over to the card catalog. First, he clicked on a box that was marked Search the Catalog. Then he clicked on Word, and finally he typed in Mailman, and he waited to see what book titles would appear. Scamper pulled up a chair beside his brother and he knelt in so that he could see the computer screen too. 14 book titles came up on the screen. Fribble's nose twitched. "Look at all these books," he said, smiling at Scamper. But after he began to read the titles of the books, his smile disappeared. "The Meddlesome Mailman? The Barefoot Mailman? What the Mailman Brought?" he read out loud. "These are all fiction stories," Fribble said. "They won't tell us about Fleet Milton, the postmaster at Munster. He was a real person." Fribble stared at the screen again. "I think we're on the wrong track," he said. "Well, let's ask Mrs. Scurry for help," suggested Scamper. They walked over to Mrs. Scurry and they told her their problem. She came back with them to the computer. "Instead of mailman, let's try postal service," she suggested, and typed in the words. A number of interesting titles came up. Mrs. Scurry, Fribble, and Scamper all leaned in towards the computer screen reading. "Here's a book that might help," Mrs. Scurry said, and she pointed to one of the entries. Fribble noticed the excitement in her voice as she continued. "It's a list of post offices and postmasters in the state from 1859 to 1959. The postmaster you're looking for should be one of the early ones listed." Fribble felt his heart beat fast. There was a book about his postmaster, or at least a book that would tell him about his postmaster. Mrs. Scurry left them to hurry back to her desk and to help another person. "Hooray, Fribble," said Scamper. "There is a mailman book. Now, let's go find it and check it out." He slid off of his seat and he started to leave, but then he came right back. "What is its number?" Scamper asked, remembering that for a nonfiction book, you needed a call number to find it on the shelf. Fribble wrote down the number 383.49788, reference, on a slip of paper. And for good measure, he added the author's name, William R. Baum. Fribble and Scamper went over to the stacks of books and they quickly found their way to the 300s. But they couldn't find the exact number that they were looking for. Again, Fribble and Scamper went in search of Mrs. Scurry. Fribble showed her the slip of paper. I know I wrote it down right, he said, but I can't find the book. Oh, Mrs. Scurry said, yes, you have the right Dewey Decimal number, but do you see this word right here? Reference? That means that it's a special book and it's kept in the library in a special place. It can only be used here in the library. People can't check it out. You mean we can't take it home and read it? Asked Scamper. Scamper sounded mad, and Fribble didn't blame him. He was mad too. After all, what's the point of having a book in the library if you can't check it out and read it? No, you can't take it home, but I will help you find it, and you can read it right here in the library, she said as she explained. This isn't a story to read. It's a book that's filled with information. You can look something up and then put it back on the shelf so that it's always ready for someone else to use. As Mrs. Scurry led Fribble and Scamper to the special reference shelf, she lifted down the book and she helped him find the Munster Post Office and the date 1877. Here you are, she said. Fribble read out loud to Scamper. Postmaster Fleet Milton. Served from 1870 to 1891. Member of WFSC and APS. Fribble paused. That was all that it said. What does that mean? Scamper asked. Fribble narrowed his brow. I don't know, he said. Well, I don't know either, said Mrs. Scurry. Maybe, if you do some more research, you'll find out. But I see I have 2 more people waiting for me at my desk. And she hurried off. Fribble carefully copied down the letters into his little spiral notebook that he kept in his pocket. His long tail zigzagged through the air as it always did when he was excited. I'll bet this is important, or it wouldn't be in the book. Fleet Milton was a member of WFSC and APS a long, long time ago. They must be really old clubs. Antique clubs? Asked Scamper. Antique, Fribble said, correcting his little brother. And I don't know if a club could be an antique or not. Fribble took the reference book back to Mrs. Scurry, who was busy helping another woman, and he and Scamper left the library. As they walked home, Fribble said, Why don't we stop by and tell Mrs. Slippers what my silver key opened? We can stop at the antique shop and still get home in time, in plenty of time for supper, he said. But we're not supposed to go there alone, Scamper said, shaking his head. Well, we won't go inside the store, said Fribble. Quickly they walked to the corner, and then Fribble, looking both ways, crossed the street and hurried to Edam Street. In a few minutes they were standing just outside the antique shop. Fribble looked at the little white cottage, knowing that right inside was the baseball of his dreams, the home run ball that was signed by Slugger McGraw. He sighed, knowing that he could never afford such an expensive ball. Then he reminded himself that he wasn't there to look at the beautiful ball. He was there to tell Mrs. Slippers all about his treasure chest and its secret compartment. She'd be excited to learn what his silver key opened. Fribble took his little brother's hand and he led him up the sidewalk towards the door. They twisted the brass bell and they listened for the loud bring inside. That's the end of chapter 5. Maybe we'll find out what Mrs. Slippers has to say in chapter 6.